The FBI says it's investigating the Minnesota mall attack that wounded 9 people for any potential ties to terrorism, as an ISIS-linked media group is calling the attacker a, quote, soldier of the Islamic State. Former FBI Assistant Director Steve Pomerantz joins us now for some insights. Great to have you with us today.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so how do you begin tracking this? We know they're going to look at his social media. They said they're going to look at any devices he has. They've looked at the car that he left behind, and they say they have impounded that and checked that. They've executed some search warrants. It sounds like it moves pretty quickly.
Yeah, it moves quickly, and more importantly than quickly, it moves thoroughly and with a plan in mind. And this is something that the FBI is very good at, very experienced at. They'll turn over every rock and every leaf in this man's life, and they will, by the end of the day, and certainly in the days to come, know a great deal more than they do right now.
Well, and former homicide detective Rod Wheeler was on with us earlier, and we had just listened to the authorities there in Minnesota at the mall shooting, and they said they've watched the video. The mayor, the police chief, and some others have watched it and said the off-duty police officer was really a hero who stopped this guy. But they said as he was shooting the man within 10, 15 feet, he got up 3 times, which begged the question of, would that say to you that maybe he had on some type of body armor or something else? It sounds inhuman that you'd be able to do that.
Well, that could be that he had some type of body armor. I don't know what kind of weapon the off-duty police officer was shooting. It could have something to do with that. And people have been known to sustain any number of hits, especially from a handgun, and continue moving. I mean, we've seen that phenomenon, people who are on drugs in particular, and we don't know that might be the case here. So that's not that unusual.
What does it say to you that he is described as having on some type of security officer uniform?
That indicates some planning to me, that he was, that this is not an immediately spontaneous act. There was certainly some level of planning. And you know, what this says to me is this kind of act, and we're focusing on New York, I think, a little bit more today because of the enormity of what happened compared to this. But this kind of attack, these lone wolf attacks on things like malls, can have a tremendous impact on our country. They're not to be diminished or minimized because of the, thank God in this case, the fact that there were no fatalities and that the weapon of choice was a knife and not a bomb or an automatic weapon. The cumulative effect of these kinds of attacks on our society can really be devastating. So this is the kind of thing that we've all been concerned about, and rightfully so, as we see the spread of this Islamic jihadist rhetoric around the world, and it takes hold. And this is the effect of it. It can be, and it's something to be really, really concerned about.
Well, and because there doesn't have to be an investment in infrastructure or direct communication. I mean, people are simply inspired. In fact, we know the online magazine Inspire tells people how to build bombs, how to go after public soft targets, all kinds of things like that. So how in the world do we have an expectation that our intelligence agencies and men and women who are working so hard and those on the front lines can put a stop to this when somebody could completely, without ever contacting one other individual, do something like this?
Well, you're exactly right in your characterization. If they really do it without contacting any other person, it's extremely difficult. And frankly, what you have to depend on is that somebody in their circle of acquaintances or somebody in their daily, who they have contact with in their daily life, becomes suspicious and picks up that phone and calls law enforcement, because your normal intelligence activities are not going to give you every one.
What about this worry that people have, that if they have a suspicion about somebody who is maybe a different background than them, a different nationality, but they think they're behaving strangely, and they're so hesitant for fear of being labeled as racist or some other negative label, that they worry about making that report?
Well, the only thing you can do is urge them to overcome that concern. When you balance that against the potential consequences of not reporting it, you hope that people make the right decision. It's understandable given the climate that people would have that reluctance, but the consequences of not reporting can be much worse.
Steve Pomerantz, thank you for lending us your expertise and coming in. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Leland.